They burned his Marine dress blues, the uniform that embodied his sacrifice, his brothers, and his service. Eleanor Vance, the iron-fisted HOA president, thought she could justify it as community standards while desecrating a Marine's honor. But she never anticipated the storm that followed: Marines, veterans, and a nation rallying behind Luke Carter, transforming his injustice into a movement. And the Corps made sure she paid for every last ember of that uniform. Ben Carter lived by a code: respect, honor, duty. A retired Marine, he carried those principles long after his service ended. But today, on the porch of his suburban home in Maple Grove, he felt a rage he hadn't known since the battlefield. It began with a letter. Ben's son, Lieutenant Luke Carter, had returned home after years of service. To honor him, Ben displayed Luke's Marine dress blues in a crafted glass case on their porch, beside an American flag rippling in the Maple Grove breeze. It wasn't just decor, it was a tribute to Luke's sacrifices. But not everyone agreed. The Maple Grove HOA, a clique of self-righteous enforcers, issued a violation notice. Signed by Eleanor Vance, the HOA president, it called the uniform and flag an eyesore that violated community aesthetics. Ben read it 3 times, stunned. An eyesore? Eleanor Vance was notorious, ruling the HOA like a tyrant, fining families for mailbox colors, towing cars for minor parking errors. Now she was targeting the Marine Corps. Ben tossed the letter in the trash. 2 days later, another arrived, threatening fines if the display stayed. Ben laughed bitterly. They could fine him all they wanted. He wasn't removing it. Then came the fire. The stench of burning fabric jolted Ben awake, clawing at his throat. He stumbled to the door, and his heart stopped. The glass case was shattered, jagged edges catching the streetlights. Luke's dress blues lay crumpled on the lawn, engulfed in flames. The flag was trampled in the dirt. For a moment, Ben froze, his mind rejecting the sight. Then rage surged. Roaring, he grabbed a garden hose, dousing the flames, but it was too late. The uniform was charred, unrecognizable. His hands shook, fists clenched, vision blurred with fury. Security footage revealed the culprits: Eleanor Vance and her enforcer, Greg Walsh, marching to his porch at midnight, ripping the uniform out, dragging it to the lawn, and lighting the match. They didn't even hide their faces. Ben stared at the screen, breathing deliberately. They hadn't just burned fabric. They'd spat on Luke's service, mocked every Marine who'd risked their life. This wasn't over. When Luke Carter arrived home, the air reeked of burnt cloth. His father stood on the porch, jaw clenched like it might shatter. But it was the ashes on the lawn that twisted Luke's gut. His dress blues. Luke approached slowly, boots crunching charred fabric. Gold buttons, warped by heat, and the Marine Corps emblem, blackened, lay in the ruins. The pristine coat, worn at his promotion, at brothers' funerals, at homecomings, was gone. His chest tightened, a knot pulling everything inward. The uniform wasn't just cloth. It was the weight on his shoulders at 18, the pride when his drill instructor nodded, his mother's tears when she first saw him in it. "This wasn't just fabric," Luke whispered. "It's everything I fought for." Ben gripped his shoulder, silent. Words weren't needed. But the HOA wasn't done. An envelope on the porch held another letter from Eleanor, fining them for the burned uniform as a waste disposal violation. Luke's hands shook, crumpling the paper. Divisive, she called it. A Marine uniform, divisive. He'd seen loss, carried flag-draped coffins, but this contempt for service was new. Looking at his father, staring at the ashes like a fallen soldier, Luke knew this demanded an answer. News of the desecration spread like wildfire. Local veterans, Vietnam, Gulf War vets who carried the Corps in their bones, arrived first, shaking Ben's hand, clapping Luke's back, their anger palpable. Then someone posted the security footage online, showing Eleanor and Greg torching the uniform. The storm erupted. The video went viral: veterans groups, military pages, national news. Comments seethed. You don't mess with the Marines. This insults everyone who served. HOA's done. Emails and calls flooded the HOA. Board members faced legal threats. News crews circled. Eleanor Vance became the county's most despised figure. Active-duty Marines joined in Luke's unit, then Marines nationwide, posting photos of their dress blues. One captioned, "Burn one, 10,000 stand in its place." Then Luke got a call from an unknown number. He almost ignored it, but a gruff voice answered, "Lieutenant Carter, this is Colonel Thomas Hayes, USMC, retired. What happened to your uniform is unacceptable. The Corps has your back. Tell us what you need." Luke's grip tightened, hope stirring. This wasn't his fight alone anymore. At 0600, vehicles roared into Maple Grove. Jeeps, trucks, motorcycles, some pristine, some battle-worn. Marines stepped out, some in crisp dress blues, others in combat fatigues, veterans in USMC patches alongside. They formed a silent, unyielding wall along the street. No signs, no shouts, just presence. You disrespect one Marine, you disrespect them all. Media swarmed local, then national. Cameras captured the Marines standing resolute. Headlines blazed. HOA targets Marine family. Veterans rally after uniform burned. Marines defend their own. Social media exploded with live streams, donations to legal funds, and letters to Congress. The American Legion, VFW, and Department of Veterans Affairs condemned the HOA. Congress members called it a disgrace to service members. Inside the HOA office, Eleanor Vance fumed, watching the coverage. "This is harassment," she snapped, tossing her tablet. "They're making me the villain." Greg Walsh shifted nervously. "Eleanor, maybe we should—" "No," she cut him off. "This is our neighborhood, our rules. We won't let a military mob overrun us." She ordered the HOA lawyer to file a restraining order and involve police. The lawyer hesitated. "Call the cops on Marines, on TV?" Eleanor's lip curled. "They're trespassing. I'll take this to the Supreme Court." It was her fatal mistake. The fight wasn't just about a uniform, it was about respect, honor, and how America treats its defenders. The Marine Corps mobilized. Veteran networks buzzed, group chats, forums, pages flooded with plans. Military charities like Wounded Warrior Project and Semper Fi Fund rallied. Retired generals, senators, and war heroes called Luke. A 4-star general tweeted, "If the HOA wants to fight the Marines, they'll lose." It garnered 1 million shares. The hashtag Justice for Luke trended globally. People posted photos of military uniforms in solidarity, captioned, "Come burn mine." A petition to oust Eleanor hit 500,000 signatures in 48 hours. Celebrities, actors, musicians, athletes amplified the story. A country singer held a veterans fundraiser concert in Luke's honor, selling out instantly. Politicians condemned the HOA, and laws targeting HOA overreach, especially against military families, gained traction. The HOA cracked. Board members resigned, distancing themselves from Eleanor's actions. She scoffed, "This'll blow over." But Greg looked uneasy. "Eleanor, we should no apologies," she snapped. She didn't grasp the storm coming. Veteran attorneys filed lawsuits pro bono, destruction of property, emotional distress, violations of the Service Members Civil Relief Act, SCRA, which protects military personnel from harassment. They targeted the HOA and Eleanor personally. The state attorney general announced an investigation into the Maple Grove HOA for corruption, extortion, and discrimination. Reporters uncovered years of abuse, fines for trivial infractions, a kid's bike, $200, a late Christmas wreath, $500, targeting lower-income, veteran, immigrant, and elderly residents to force sales, with properties snapped up by Eleanor's allies. Whistleblowers, ex-board members, homeowners, former employees exposed her. One said, "Eleanor ran the HOA like a cartel." The FBI and HUD investigated fraudulent fines and property coercion. Eleanor's empire unraveled. She slammed her laptop shut, calls unanswered, news crews outside her gated community. Board members quit, lawyers sued, and criminal probes loomed. At an emergency HOA meeting, Eleanor stormed in, defiant. "I built this community," she spat. But legal notices piled up, her board turned against her, and the Attorney General questioned ex-members. The governor condemned her as a disgrace. With cameras rolling, Eleanor resigned in shame, her signature trembling. Outside, veterans and homeowners watched, some cheering. A line of Marines in dress blues stood silent, their presence more damning than words. Eleanor fled to her car, head down, cameras flashing. The HOA collapsed, lawsuits drained it, homeowners voted to dissolve it. Maple Grove was free. Eleanor vanished, some saying she fled the state, others that she drowned in legal debt. No one cared. On a Sunday afternoon, Luke stood at attention before family, Marines, and supporters. Colonel Thomas Hayes presented a tailored dress blues uniform, its lining embroidered with the names of Luke's fallen brothers. Luke's breath caught, tracing the stitching. "The Corps takes care of its own," Hayes said. As Luke donned the uniform, the sunset glowed. Honor was restored. Eleanor's fall and the HOA's end sparked a movement. The Military Service Honor Act, dubbed the Carter Act, passed overwhelmingly, banning HOAs from restricting military displays, flags, uniforms, memorials, and penalizing violations. Across America, porches displayed dress blues, a defiant tribute. One viral photo showed a Marine uniform on a porch, sign reading, "Come and take it." At a veteran gathering, Luke spoke to a hushed crowd. "This wasn't just about a uniform," he said, voice steady. "It was about honor, the sacrifices of those who wear it. Every Marine, soldier, airman, sailor told their service doesn't matter." He paused. "We understand that weight, that pride, that blood. And we'll always fight for it." A voice shouted, "Semper Fi." The chant roared, "Semper Fi." Luke stood tall, pride swelling, not just for himself, but for the Corps, the fight, and the victory. The war was won. Eleanor's tyranny ended, Maple Grove rebuilt as a community of respect. The Carter Act protected service members nationwide. Luke and Ben stood stronger, their bond forged in justice. The Marines proved you don't disrespect one of their own, dishonor a Marine, and you answer to them all.